Welcome to the Heartbreak Chronicles, where every story is a raw reflection of life. Hit that subscribe button to stay tuned, give us a like to show your support, and share this episode with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment and let us know what you think. Now, let's dive into today's story. I never thought that I would find traces of another man on my own wife's panties. But that's the way fate is. It always hits you in the head when you least expect it. That Friday afternoon, my world fell apart, and I didn't even know where to start rebuilding it. I'm Nathan Brooks, an executive at a leading tech company. 18 months ago, Emily and I entered into marriage. Our wedding was held at one of the best hotels in San Francisco with tons of guests. Emily was stunningly beautiful in her white wedding dress, and I remember making a secret vow in my heart to love and cherish her for the rest of my life. However, in recent months, I feel like cracks are starting to appear in our relationship. Emily seems to be becoming more and more enamored with the social life of Silicon Valley and spending more and more time at her mother's house in San Francisco. It was a sunny Friday afternoon, and I left work early to surprise Emily. On the drive home, I was thinking about getting a bouquet of flowers. In the end, I decided to go straight home, and maybe we could go out for dinner and talk it over. It's been a long time since we've had a good conversation. The moment I pushed open the door to my home, an unfamiliar scent of perfume hit me. I frowned. Emily never wore that perfume. It's a rich musky scent with a hint of sweetness, not Emily's style at all. My heart began to race, and a sense of foreboding surged through me. The room was a mess, clothes scattered all over the place. The sheets on the bed crumpled. Obviously, no one had slept in it for days. I stood there, feeling my breathing become difficult. What's going on here? Emily's always been neat and tidy. How could she let the house get like this? I began to scrutinize the room, hoping to find some clues. While rummaging through my clothes, my hands suddenly came across a soft fabric. I picked it up and realized it was a pair of ladies' panties. At first I thought they were Emily's, but upon closer inspection, I realized they were panties I'd never seen before. It was black lace, and Emily usually preferred to wear cotton panties. What alarmed me even more was that there were some visible white marks on it. My hands began to shake and my mind went blank. While rummaging through my clothes, my hands suddenly came across a soft fabric. I picked it up and immediately recognized it as Emily's favorite pair of panties. However, when I took a closer look, my heart instantly hit rock bottom. There were obvious signs of use on these supposedly clean panties, and to break my heart even more, there were some blinding white marks on them. My stomach began to churn, and a strong wave of nausea rushed up my throat. I tried to convince myself that there was a rational explanation for all this, but deep down, I knew what the truth was. These traces, their meaning could not be more obvious. As I stood there, it felt as if time had stopped. These panties, Emily's panties, are like a sharp knife stabbing deep into my heart right now. It's not just a piece of clothing that's been used, it's a callous betrayal of our marriage. Every detail of the room suddenly became incredibly clear. The scattered clothes, the messy sheets, the unfamiliar scent of perfume in the air, if nothing else. All these clues were relentlessly confirming my worst suspicions, that Emily had betrayed me. My mind began to run wild, recalling all of Emily's unusual behavior over the past few months. She often came home late and said she was partying with friends. She began to change her perfume frequently. She got drunk from time to time and said it was for socializing. She was always careful when she typed on her cell phone. All these details suddenly strung together to form a truth I didn't want to face. A wave of anger, sadness, and a sense of betrayal washed over me. I felt like my heart was being torn to pieces. Our marriage vows, our shared dreams, our plans for the future, all of that became laughable and illusory in this moment. My hands were still shaking, but I forced myself to calm down. I carefully placed the panties in a plastic bag and decided to save the heartbreaking evidence. I need answers. I need explanations. But most of all, I needed the courage to face this terrible truth that has revolutionized our lives. I picked up my cell phone and called Emily. The phone rang for a long time and finally went to voicemail. I took a deep breath, tried to control my emotions, and left a message. Emily, I'm at home. Where are you? My voice sounded strange and cold, like another person talking. Putting the phone down, I sat on the edge of my bed and tried to clear my thoughts. What's wrong with our marriage? Was I too busy working and ignoring her feelings? Or did the passion between us really die out that quickly? I thought back to our first date and that twinkle in Emily's eye. When did that light start to disappear? We used to be so in love. I remember the night I proposed to her. We were walking on the Golden Gate Bridge, and Emily was beautiful in the moonlight. She burst into tears of excitement when I got down on one knee and pulled out the ring. At that time, we were full of hope and anticipation for the future, believing that our love could conquer all. Now that I think about it, those fond memories become so ironic. I felt a wave of intense anger come over me. I wanted to smash things. I wanted to yell. I wanted to question Emily as to why she was doing this to me. But I just sat there and felt this anger burning inside me. After waiting half an hour, Emily still hadn't replied. I decided to visit her parents' house. Maybe she's there. Maybe her parents know something. I needed answers, an explanation, even if that explanation would completely destroy me. On the drive to Emily's parents' house, my emotions swung back and forth between anger and sadness. I remembered what Emily had once said, "Nathan, you're the best person I've ever met. I will never betray you." Now that I think about it, how hypocritical and ridiculous those words were. Upon arrival, only Emily's mother, Linda, was home. When she saw me, her face flashed with surprise and, was it guilt? "Nathan," she forced a smile, "Emily's not here." I looked her straight in the eye and tried to control my emotions. "Linda, where's Emily?" Linda avoided my gaze and started fiddling with the vase on the coffee table. "Nathan, I really don't know where Emily is. She's an adult with a life of her own." I felt a surge of anger rise up. "Linda, please don't lie to me. I found something in the house today. Emily's behavior has been erratic lately, and I need to know what's going on." Linda's hand paused for a moment, then sighed deeply. "Nathan, you're a good man. Emily is lucky to be married to you. But there are some things that we as parents can't do anything about." I stared at Linda, feeling my patience slipping away. "What does that mean? Are you implying that Emily did something?" Linda finally looked up at me with mixed emotions in her eyes. "Nathan, you better talk to Emily. I shouldn't be sticking my nose into your business. But if Emily has done something to upset you, I hope you can give her a chance to explain. She's young and may make mistakes, but I know she loves you." I felt a wave of vertigo. Linda's words certainly confirmed my worst suspicions. Emily had really cheated on me, and her parents seemed to have known about it for a long time. "Linda," I tried to control my voice, "you guys knew what Emily was doing, didn't you? You guys knew she was betraying me, and you chose to remain silent?" A flicker of guilt flashed in Linda's eyes. "Nathan, this isn't something we should be telling you." I interrupted her. "No, Linda, that's exactly what you should have done. If you guys really cared about Emily and our marriage, you should have stopped her, or at least told me the truth. Your silence makes you complicit." Linda began to sob. "Nathan, we don't know what to do. Emily is our daughter, and we don't want to hurt her. But we also love you and think of you as our son. We just want this to work itself out between you guys." I felt a deep pang of disappointment and betrayal, not only to Emily, but to her parents as well. I used to think of them as my family, but now it seems so ridiculous to feel that way. "Linda," I said coldly, "your silence hurts everyone. If you really love Emily, you should help her do the right thing, not condone her mistakes. Now tell me, where is Emily?" Linda wiped the tears from her eyes, hesitated for a moment, and finally said, "I really don't know exactly where she is, Nathan, but she's been going to the Blue Note bar a lot lately. Maybe you can find her there." I nodded and without another word, turned to leave. I felt a wave of deep exhaustion and disappointment. I used to think that Emily's family was my family too, but now I see how naive that thought was. After leaving Emily's parents' house, I felt a wave of deep exhaustion and disappointment. I need someone I can trust to talk to help me clear my head. I decided to go to my brother Henry. When I arrived at Henry's house, he was getting ready to go out. Seeing me, he immediately realized something was wrong. "Nathan, what are you doing here? Did something happen?" Henry asked, his brow furrowed. Before I could answer, Henry's cell phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the screen and then said to me, "Hold on. I have to take this call." I nodded and walked inside, sitting on the couch in the living room. I could hear Henry whispering on the porch, but couldn't make out the specifics. A few minutes later, he returned to the living room with a strange expression on his face. "Nathan," he hesitated, then said, "I don't know if I should tell you this, but that Emily is at the Blue Note bar right now. A friend of mine just saw her there, drinking and talking with some guys." I felt my heart stop for a second. Emily hates bars. At least that's what she's always told me. In hindsight, that was one of her lies. "What?" I asked incredulously. "Are you sure?" Henry nodded. "My friend is sure." "Nathan, what the hell happened? You look like shit." That's when all the emotions suddenly came flooding back. I told Henry everything that had happened earlier, including the panties with the white marks that I had found. Stating these facts sent a wave of shame and anger through me, but Henry just listened quietly, nodding from time to time. "I'm so sorry, Nathan," Henry said, putting a hand on my shoulder. "This must be killing you. What are you going to do?" I took a deep breath. "I don't know, Henry, but I need to know the truth. I think I need to check out that bar." Henry looks a little worried. "Are you sure? The emotional state you're in?" "I have to go," I interrupted. "I need to see it with my own eyes. It's the only way I can be sure what to do." Henry nodded. "I understand. But Nathan, promise me that no matter what you see, stay calm. Okay? Don't do anything you'll regret." I stood up and thanked Henry for his concern. Before I left, I looked back at him. "Thanks, Henry. I'll be careful." I immediately drove to the Blue Note. Along the way, my emotions swung back and forth between anger and sadness. I remembered what Emily had once said, "Nathan, you're the best person I've ever met. I will never betray you." Now that I think about it, how ironic and hypocritical those words were. I pushed open the door of the Blue Note, and the smell of cigarettes and alcohol hit me. My eyes quickly scanned the dimly lit interior of the bar, looking for Emily. Then I saw her. Emily was half lying in the arms of a strange man, and she looked almost unrecognizable to me. She was wearing a low-cut dress I'd never seen before, and her makeup was so heavy it was completely unlike her usual self. One of the man's arms was around Emily's waist, and his other hand was restlessly stroking her bare thigh. I stood there, feeling my blood freeze. Emily looked drunk, her head resting on the man's shoulder with an obsessed look on her face I'd never seen before. The man leaned close to Emily's ear and said something, and then they both laughed. Just then, the man's hand began to move upward, sliding into the hem of Emily's dress. Instead of stopping, Emily let out a soft chuckle, wriggling her body to meet his movements. I felt a strong wave of nausea and my stomach turned. My mind went blank, but my body automatically moved toward them. Emily had always said she hated intimacy in public, but now she was in this seedy bar, allowing a strange man to desecrate her so. "Emily," I said coldly, my voice filled with a calmness I couldn't believe in myself. Emily looked up, a flash of panic in her eyes when she saw me, but it was quickly masked by the drunkenness. "Nathan, what are you doing here?" Her voice slurred. The man looked at me and then at Emily, obviously realizing something. He pulled his hand out of Emily's skirt, but still wrapped it around her waist. I felt a sharp pang of anger and hatred. This is my wife, the woman I once vowed to love for the rest of my life. And now here she is, throwing herself around like a cheap whore. I fought the urge to vomit and said, "We should go home." Emily looks like she wants to retort, but when she sees the look in my eyes, she knows better than to argue. She staggered to her feet, and the man stood up as well, as if trying to stop it. "Hey man," he said, "we're having fun." I turned around and looked the man straight in the eye. "I'm her husband. If you don't want trouble, you'd better leave." The man looked at me, then at Emily, and finally had the sense to back away. "Dude, I didn't know she was married. Sorry." I ignored him and just grabbed Emily's arm and pulled her towards the door. Emily stumbled after me, muttering something, but I didn't want to hear it anymore. I feel deeply disappointed and betrayed. Is the Emily I love, the gentle, kind, nurturing Emily, just a figment of my wishful imagination? Is this Emily now, the real her? As we walked out of the bar, the fresh air sobered me up a little, but the pain and nausea inside didn't lessen. I shoved Emily into the car and buckled my seatbelt. She was so drunk that her head was leaning against the car window, her eyes half closed. I got into the driver's seat and took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. "Why, Emily?" I whispered. "Why did you do this to our marriage?" Emily didn't answer, just mumbled something vaguely. I shook my head and started the car. A suffocating silence filled the car on the way home. My brain was a mess, and all sorts of emotions were tumbling through me. Anger, sadness, betrayal, confusion. I didn't know how to deal with it all. When we arrived home, Emily's parents were already waiting at our door. Emily's father, the ever-amiable Mark, had disappointment and anger written all over his face at the moment. "Nathan," he spoke, a hint of weariness in his voice, "this is all your fault. You're the one who brought Emily into this flowery world. You're the one who made her lose herself." I felt an intense wave of anger hit me. I helped Emily onto the couch and then turned to face Mark. "My fault?" I sneered. "Did I make Emily go to a bar and flirt with strange men? Was I the one who made her betray our marriage vows? Was I the one who made Emily sleep with other men and leave Panties with a white substance in the house? Mark, you know how much I love Emily and how much I've given to this family. And now you're accusing me?" Mark's face turned pale, and Linda sobbed. "I know my words are probably too harsh, but at the moment I can't control my emotions." "You knew what she was doing," I continued. "You knew she was betraying me and chose to remain silent. You are also responsible." Emily stirred on the couch, seemingly awakened by our bickering. She opened her eyes and looked around her blankly. "Nathan? Mom?" Her voice was still drunk. "What happened?" I looked at Emily and suddenly felt a wave of deep exhaustion. "Emily, we'll talk about our business later. Right now you need to rest and clear your head. We'll talk tomorrow." I turned to Mark and Linda and said, "You guys should go back too. This is between me and Emily, and we need to work it out ourselves." Mark looked like he was going to say something else, but Linda pulled him back and shook her head gently. They left in silence, leaving Emily and I alone with the mess. That night, I slept in the guest room. Or rather, I tried to fall asleep. All night I tossed and turned, my mind replaying the details of the past few months. I tried to figure out when I started losing Emily, but couldn't find an answer. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. I got up and took a cold shower to try and clear my head. When I walked into the kitchen, I found Emily already sitting there. She looked haggard and obviously hungover. "Nathan," she whispered, "can we talk?" I nodded and poured myself a cup of coffee before sitting across from her. "Okay, let's talk." Emily took a deep breath and began to speak. "Nathan, I know what you found at the house yesterday. I don't know how to explain it." I stared at my coffee cup, unwilling to look her in the eye. "How do you know what I found?" I asked coldly. Emily's voice began to tremble. "I went home yesterday afternoon. I found those panties were gone. I knew you were home early because I saw your briefcase. I figured you must have found it. Then my mom called and told me you came by, looking all upset. I knew. You must have found it." I felt a tingle. Not only did Emily betray me, she tried to hide her behavior. I lifted my head and looked her straight in the eyes. "So, if I hadn't found out, were you planning on keeping this from me?" Emily's eyes began to tear up. "Nathan, I don't know. I'm scared and I don't want to lose you." "Losing me?" I laughed bitterly. "Emily, did it ever occur to you that when you sleep with another man, you're already losing me?" Emily lowered her head and sobbed. "I know what I did was wrong, Nathan. You were always so busy, and we hardly spent any time together. I'm starting to feel like an accessory in your life, not your wife." Every day I woke up, I felt like I was all alone. Boredom and loneliness filled me, and for a moment I was confused. I took a deep breath and tried to control my emotions. "That's not a reason, Emily. If you felt that, you should have talked to me instead of going to another man." I paused for a moment, then asked the question that had been haunting me. "Tell me, how many times?" Emily looked up, fear and shame in her eyes. I'm not sure. There may have been 6 or 7 times, maybe 10. I don't really remember. I feel like the world has collapsed. Not once, but many times. When exactly did our marriage start having problems? You know, Emily, I stood up and started pacing back and forth in the kitchen. I always thought we were happily married. I thought we were a team, supporting each other and trusting each other. But now it seems like it was all just wishful thinking on my part. Emily looked up, tears blurring her vision. Nathan, I'm really sorry. I know I made an unforgivable mistake. But please believe me, I love you. I don't want to lose you. I looked at the woman in front of me that I had loved so much and felt a sudden wave of exhaustion. Emily, love is no excuse. Once trust is broken, it's hard to rebuild. Emily nodded, tears still flowing. I understand. Nathan, I will accept whatever decision you make. But please believe that I truly regret it. I turned to leave the kitchen, feeling my heart bleed. I love Emily, but right now it's more about being sick of him. Eventually, I made a decision. I need to get out of the house and out of San Francisco for a while. I need a new environment to think about our future. I told Emily I was going back to corporate headquarters for a while. She looked surprised, but didn't stop me. I understand, she said softly. You need time and space. I'll be here for you, Nathan, however long it takes. I nodded, not responding to her words. I packed some essentials and booked my flight. The next morning, I left our home and returned to the corporate headquarters. For the next few weeks, I buried myself in work. Every time Emily calls, I have my secretary say I'm in a meeting. I know I'm running away, but I need time to think, time to heal my broken heart. However, no matter how hard I work or how much I try to distract myself, those painful memories still come flooding back late at night. I will think of Emily's smile and the happy times we had. But whenever these fond memories come up, the image of the panties with the suspicious markings comes right behind them, crushing all the goodness. During my third week at corporate headquarters, I finally made up my mind. I want a divorce. The decision wasn't easy, but I knew it was necessary. I can't trust Emily anymore. What's the point of a marriage without trust? I contacted an attorney, Tom Wilson. Tom, an experienced divorce attorney, advised me to gather more evidence. Nathan, Tom said, I suggest you hire a private investigator. If we can get video evidence of Emily cheating, it will help your case a lot. I hesitated. This feels like an invasion of Emily's privacy. But on second thought, Emily trampled the boundaries of our marriage a long time ago. So what did I have to worry about? Okay, I said, let's do it. Tom quickly arranged for a private investigator. A week later, the private investigator handed me a video. I clicked on the video with trembling fingers, and the image I saw sent a wave of dizziness through me. Emily, my wife, is with two men. I couldn't keep watching. That night, I was drunk. It was the first time in years that I had indulged myself so much. Alcohol numbed my nerves, but it couldn't erase the images. I felt my heart being torn into pieces, all those memories we shared, all those futures we had planned together. All of them fizzled out in this moment. The next morning I went to see Tom with a hangover headache. I told him I was going to file for divorce immediately. Are you sure, Nathan? Asked Tom. Once you start this program, it's hard to turn back. I nodded. I'm sure. I can't continue this marriage. Tom helped me prepare the divorce papers. We decided to file a lawsuit against Emily for having an extramarital affair. I felt a wave of relief when I signed those papers, but I never thought our marriage would end this way. A few days later, I was back in San Francisco. Instead of going home first, I went straight to Emily's office. I'm going to deliver the divorce papers to her in person. When I walked into Emily's office, she was on the phone. When she saw me, her face instantly turned pale. I have to hang up, she said to the other end of the line and put the phone down. Nathan, you're back? I didn't say anything, just put the folder on her desk. Emily looked at the folder and then at me, fear in her eyes. What is this? Divorce papers, I said calmly. I'm divorcing you, Emily. Emily's hands began to shake. Nathan, no, please don't. I won't agree. I shook my head. Emily, you betrayed me and our marriage. I can't trust you anymore. Since you don't agree, I'll see you in court. Emily started to cry. Nathan, please. I know I did wrong, but I really love you. Give me a chance to make up for my mistakes. I felt a pang of heartache, but I knew I had to stand by my decision. I'm sorry, Emily, but it's for the best. We both need to start over. Just then, Emily suddenly turned pale. She wiped away her tears and looked at me coldly. You can't do this, Nathan. You have no proof that I cheated. I was stunned by her sudden shift. What? Emily stood up, her voice becoming shrill. You heard me. You have no proof. If you insist on a divorce, I will countersue you for chronic emotional abuse of me. I'll tell the judge how you neglected me and made me feel alone and unappreciated. I felt a surge of intense anger. Are you kidding me, Emily? After what you did, you're trying to backpedal? Emily sneered. You have no proof. If you insist on a divorce, I'll make you pay. I felt a strong surge of anger come over me. I was silent for a few seconds, then slowly pulled a sealed plastic bag from my briefcase. Inside were the panties with the white marks. No evidence? I said coldly, then what's this? Emily's face instantly turned pale. I continued, if you don't mind, we can go for medical identification. Find out whose white substance these are. What do you think, Emily? Emily began to tremble, fear in her eyes. Nathan, you can't do this. I interrupted her. Oh, of course I can. But that's not all. I pulled out my laptop and opened a video file. The private investigator captured it. You and your friends put on a great show at the hotel. Would you like us to enjoy it together? Or maybe your coworkers would be interested in it. The blood drained from Emily's face. She rushed forward and tried to grab the laptop, but I was prepared. I pressed play, and the video of Emily and two strange men immediately appeared on the screen. Everyone else in the office stopped what they were doing and stared at the scene in disbelief. Emily broke down and she fell to her knees in tears. Nathan, please don't. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please forgive me. I turned off the video and looked down at Emily on her knees. I felt a strange calmness, as if all the anger and pain had disappeared in the moment. Forgive? Emily, you betrayed me and our marriage vows. Not only did you hurt me, you humiliated me. Now, sign this divorce agreement. Otherwise, I guarantee the entire company, no, the entire city will know what you've done. Emily took the pen shakily and signed the divorce papers. Her tears dripped onto the paper, haloing a watery stain. Just then, Emily's boss walked in. He looked at the wretched Emily, then at me and the laptop. Ms. Brooks, his voice was icy, in light of what just happened, I think there are some things I need to discuss with you. Please come to my office. 3 days later, Emily was fired from the company. A week later, I heard she had left the city. I didn't go to see her off or try to contact her. It's all over between us. Over the next few days, I began to re-examine my life. It took me a long time to heal those wounds and learn to trust others again. Sometimes I think of Emily and the time we used to spend together. Those memories no longer cause me pain, just a faint melancholy. Life moves on. I got back into work and made new friends. In the process, I began to think about what was really important. I was sitting on my balcony one night, looking out over the city lights, when I suddenly realized something. Love and marriage are a commitment, a responsibility, and a choice. Every day, we make choices. Choices to be honest, choices to trust, choices to communicate, choices to face difficulties instead of running away. In the journey of love and marriage, it's not the destination that counts, but the person we become along the way. Thank you for taking the time to listen to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have a story to share about your own or someone else's experience, please feel free to contact me. Take care.